Welcome back to Let's Talk, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, I am your host, IceFist1, and today I have a special show for you. Today I want to talk about the Xbox One, the PS4, and let's bring in the Wii U for good measure. For the PS4 and the Xbox One, I want to talk about their respective conferences because, well, there's a lot of misconception and ideas hitting back and forward, so that's all I can go from. I don't have the console in my hand, so I can't tell you about it, and the Wii U, well, it's already been out, so everybody knows. Well, let's start it off with the Wii U. It's been out for a while. Most people have it. I got my hands on it a couple of times. In essence, the Wii U is basically a Wii HD. The thing we wanted 3 years ago, but we finally got it now. The only problem with it is that it's not receiving much support from third-party developers. Hence, I expected this year's E3 to be a big conference for Nintendo because it was make it or break it for them. Their console received mixed reviews at launch. However, their biggest flaw and their biggest problem was that it didn't have much third-party support. More importantly, they didn't have any third-party exclusivity. Now I know this, most people buy Nintendo because of the first-party exclusive, i.e. your Mario, Zelda, Metroid, Super Smash Bros, and so on. It seems that nostalgia wasn't going to save Nintendo this time, and their main franchises weren't coming out for years, so this year's E3 was going to be pivotal for them. So most of you are wondering, how did they do? Well, they actually did pretty well for themselves. I thought it was going to fail since they didn't do a big conference, but since they didn't have anything to announce this year, anything like a console or anything like that, it didn't matter to them. So they did like a Nintendo Connect kind of style thing. They showed you what games were coming out. It's like a little show. They showed off Super Smash Bros, by the way, which looks great. We have a video down in our Fat Cat's YouTube page. You can look it up. It looks fantastic. And they showed the next Donkey Kong, which looks great as well. The only problem I saw again was the lack of third-party support, and I was disappointed by it. They have Bayonetta, sure, but I'm not gonna buy a Wii U because of Bayonetta. So like every other fan out there, I'm actually waiting to see what franchises come out for it first. When the next Wind Waker comes out, I'm probably going to end up buying it then, so that's extra revenue that they would not be getting anytime soon. If I had to rate the conference, I would give it a B. Very solid B. They had a lot of good first party announcements, but again, they were lacking that third party support. And as I said in the past, you cannot survive on nostalgia alone. Eventually your fans will want more. Eventually your fans will outgrow the series that brought you to that system. And even if you didn't outgrow the series, like I love Zelda to death, I will not buy the console until the next Zelda comes out because there's nothing on it that I can't get elsewhere. Alright, next up on the chopping block is going to be Microsoft. Now, being a current generation Xbox 360 owner, I was excited to see what Microsoft was going to say on the E3 because of their lackluster TV-driven last conference they had and how much they focus on entertainment and bro science as opposed to, I want a game. Let me show you some games. So when they said, if you want more games, you're going to show it off at E3. I was actually excited to see what the conference was going to be all about. And I was praying that it wasn't going to be TV, and more TV like it was last time. Luckily, it wasn't. At first, they showed off all their games that was coming out. They showed off Forza again, which I was like, if you're a fan of racing games, I'm sure you like Forza. Then they showed off the big one for me. And the big one for me was Killer Instinct. Now, I said to my friends, if Killer Instinct comes out on the next Xbox, I'm buying the Xbox One. Why? Because I'm a huge fan of the series and I refuse to see it go under because it's a series that I love. It took them so many years to release it. Finally Rare got their shit together and now we're back to square one when they announced that Rare wasn't even gonna be working on it. The majority of the team of Rare now works for Retro Studios, so needless to say, I was a little worried when a franchise I love was being handled by somebody else, but I was okay with it. I saw their gameplay and it looked great. They showed the gameplay for Rise. That looked amazing as well. Rise is basically God of Rome. And then you had Spark, Project Spark. When I saw Project Spark, I thought this is amazing. The fact that you can create games within another game and have your friends play it. I don't mean Little Big Planet, because Little Big Planet is you create in tracks and people play. I mean a full-fledged RPG, maybe a side scroller, whatever you want to, you can create it from scratch. I thought that was a great idea. So I mean, things are going well for Microsoft at this point. I saw their games, the game lineup, and I was like, wow, this is pretty impressive. In fact, I felt that they had more exclusives than what Sony had brought up to the table so far. So I was like, this is a pretty good deal. You're doing great, Microsoft. And they decided to announce their price. Now, the price was $499, £499, and so on and so forth. When I heard that, I was like, wow, that's an expensive console. Then I thought about everything that goes in it, and I thought to myself, well, I mean, it's justifiable, but it probably makes it not a day one purchase, because when you see a console that expensive, you want to do a little bit more research on it before you go ahead and drop that sum of money, because $500 is not something to mess around with. However, it is a one-time purchase. Usually these consoles last for a couple years, mind you, not ring, I'm not talking about that, but when you get a console, you have it for a long time, right? And the pieces in it was justifiable. So I thought, look, Microsoft, you had a great conference. If I had to rate you, I would say a B+, because you focus on games and not as much as on entertainment, and you have all these things coming out for it. So I thought this is a B+ conference. Then came the announcements after the conference. Up to this point, I was like, I'm buying an Xbox One. They have me by the balls here. They're bringing out Killer Instinct, a series that I love. Why wouldn't I buy the next console? There were a lot of speculations about the idea of used games on the next systems and the fact that you can share with your friends and all that. Well, Microsoft made all these things come true. So starting off, they decided to say, well, you can only share your games once, and that means give it to one of your friends. You have to know them for more than 30 days, have them on your friends list for more than 30 days for you to be able to give it to them. Second thing, and now they backtrack a little bit on this and said, well, now you can actually share that game up to 10 people on your family. Now, I don't know if this means that once you share it between your family, they get it and you get it, since the games are installed in your hard drive. So that's a little sketchy, and that's the biggest problem with the next Xbox, is like how little information we're given. All these things came out, all these people came out, they told us things, and now they're changing it. So they say one thing and the next day they say another. I don't know if they're trying to trick the masses into buying their console and then realizing that they got screwed over, or they just don't know their own policies. Since you can only share your games once, it means that the whole idea of the used game market, it's done. However, Microsoft was like, oh, don't worry, we're going to implement a system where you can sell it to certain retailers, certain certified retailers by us. That way they can get a bigger piece of the pie, right? Now they're going back and they're saying, well, we're actually going to leave that to the third-party publishers. If the third-party publishers want used game sales, that they're going to have it. If not, then we're not going to have it for that specific game, mind you. And this whole back and forth, I think this is the biggest problem with the system. Once again, there is nothing set in stone yet. One day they're saying one thing, the next day they're saying another. So far there was nothing set in stone. So after that, I was like, well, Microsoft, you kind of shot yourself in the foot here. So I had to go back and re-rate your conference as a C- at best. Mind you, this is barely passing now. This is a barely passing grade. And that's how I felt about the system. This is a barely passing gaming console. Then came PS4. And let me tell you a little bit about PS4. PS4 didn't have to show anything during this conference because Microsoft did all the work for them, okay? Microsoft basically said, here's my foot, here's a shotgun, I'm pointing at it, and I'm gonna pull my own trigger, okay? So all PlayStation had to come out and say was, yeah, we are not doing that. And they did. It was hilarious. When they came out, they made this whole spear, and I was like, wow, they're just slapping Microsoft right in the face, and there's nothing they can do about it. They were like, our console doesn't, oh yeah, by the way, their Microsoft console has to be online once every 24 hours, or else you can't play your games. PS4 came out, and they're like, you don't have to check in online. We believe in the idea of game-based playing. So you come in, you put in your game, right, and you into your system, and you're ready to go. You don't have to install or anything like that from a cloud or anything like that. You just play it. You want to bring it over to your friend's house? Guess what? You can. You want to sell used games? Well, we'll leave it to the third-party, publishers, but in reality, you can sell them if you want to. We're not changing anything we're doing with a PlayStation. We're keeping it the way it is because that's the way it works, right? As far as game goes, they showed off Infamous. They showed off the next Kingdom Hearts, by the way, which I'm actually very excited about. They showed off Final Fantasy 13 Versus, which is now 15. So they had a great lineup. They even showed the Infamous Second Son. After watching the gameplay of it, I was actually more excited because when I saw the pictures of it, I was like, man, this guy looks a complete douchebag. I don't even want to know what his story is. Then when I saw the gameplay of it, I was like, oh, this actually could work as a game. I actually like it. Now, with all this good, there was a bad. I mean, I didn't mind it, but a lot of the fanboys were angry about it. They said that in order for you to play online with the next system, you actually have to have PlayStation Plus, which is going to be a subscription that's going to be less than $5 a month. I think it's $49.99 a year. Not a big deal since I'm coming from the Xbox where I pay, $60 now. The only thing though is that I hope their system and the quality of their online is as good as it is on the Xbox. Now, there's no denying that the PlayStation Network was a great thing. However, and this is true, I'm sorry fanboys, but this is the truth. You have to see it with a clear eyes here, okay? Xbox Live was a far superior system. You have in between game chat, which is now coming to the PlayStation 4, which is great. And the fact that you can have a party system, you can play with your friends, and the overall feel of the online on the Xbox was a lot better than the PlayStation Network. Now, don't mind this though. The PlayStation Network was free and Xbox was paid. You had to pay $60 a year, basically a brand new game once a year. So you did get what you paid for, okay? Now I want to see that kind of similarities on the next system. If you're gonna be paying $40, $50 a year for online on the next PlayStation, I hope they have a similar strong online system on the PlayStation 4. I mean, so there you have it. If I had to rate the conference, it's an A+. A amazing A+. This is no fanboyism here, okay? Mind you, I'm an Xbox guy. When I saw that conference and the slap to the face to Microsoft, and the fact that they did a video after it, when they're like, how do you trade games between friends? Step 1, here you go, buddy. Oh, thank you. That was great. That was a great troll moment for PlayStation, right at Xbox. And that comes back from back in the days when you used to remember the Genesis, and like Sega against Nintendo, you know, what is it, Genesis does with Nintendo don't. You know, I remember those days. When I think of that's what brings me back to that trash talking days. So when I saw that, I was happy. Now again, conference A+. Everything they're like, we're keeping it the same way. And guess what? Here's the biggie. I almost forgot about this. I don't even know how I could forget about this. Their price range is going to be $399. They undercut the Xbox by a full $100, and the way they're doing it is very simple. There's been talk that they might have 3 different consoles. It's all speculated right now. They said they might have a $399, $499, $599. That's all talk, but so far what they've said is going to be a $399 console at launch. If you want to buy the PlayStation Eye or anything like that, it's going to be $50. Sorry, $60, and same thing for the PlayStation controllers. It's going to be $60. But other than that, $399, you get the console, everything is working, and you can play. However, if you want to play online, you do have to have that subscription, the PlayStation Plus subscription, for only $5 a month. And here's even more news for you fans out there. If you have a current PlayStation Plus subscription, you're going to get to keep it. It's going to transfer over into the next PlayStation. Not only that, everything you've downloaded to this point on your PlayStation Plus will stay to that account, so you can download it on the next system. That's amazing. Xbox doesn't even care about the previous Xbox. They don't want to have any backwards compatibility. The PlayStation at least is trying with their Guide network. So when I heard everything about it, now this is coming from a big Xbox connoisseur, because I refuse to call myself a fanboy. When I saw their next console, I was like, wow, PlayStation, you really blew them out of the water. And for a price of $399, that's actually worthy of a day one purchase. $499, not so much, especially with all the different policies that are in place, but $399, that's not that bad. That's actually worthy of a day one purchase. So between the two big consoles, it comes down to price and policies, and right now the price is not a big deal for me. The policies, however, I refuse to support Microsoft what they're doing. The Wii U, again, what do you need? You need third-party support. As far as Microsoft goes, you need to change your policies, because if you don't, you're going to get the backlash of every gamer out there. Your console might sell, but it's not going to sell enough. And one little tidbit, Microsoft did say that they expect to sell 1 billion units of this next Xbox One. Mind you, the Xbox 360 sold 400 million. So I don't understand with this current policies in place. I don't understand how they plan to get 1 billion units sold. And with their current online policies, if you will, now the Xbox is no longer going to be the console that troops use, and it's going to go to PlayStation, because then you don't need a constant online connection. There was a guy who told one of the high-ups in Microsoft, hey, I work at a nuclear sub, you know, what am I going to do since I don't have a current connection? And Microsoft, the head guy from Microsoft basically said, well, we have a current system for you, and that is the Xbox 360. So with that kind of attitude, I refuse to support them, and I will lose all the games. I have 100-something games, and I'm going to lose all of that, and everything I worked hard for, my gamer score and all that will be gone, and I'm gladly going to give it all up just to slap them in the face and say, I'm not going to buy your system. Maybe when their system bombs, they're going to change their policies, and if they do, and if they're like, look fans, I changed my policies, it's not going to be like this, it's going to be completely different. Not the first time this is done, okay? People forget that the PlayStation 3 used to look The controllers just look like bananas, and people were like, I don't want to play your little boomerang game system. So they had to take it back and change how the whole system looked. It can happen. They still have time. They can change their policies, and if they do, I might still go for the Xbox One, especially if they say we're going to have some kind of backwards compatibility. Because if they say, well, look, we're going to have at least 5 games at launch, you can be backwards compatible, and we're going to support the online, your online Xbox Live purchases, then, I mean, I've had a lot of money invested in the system that I'll probably go back and spend it on them. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, well, $100 difference, not a big deal if I get to play all my old titles. But the way it stands right now, I refuse to buy the Xbox One. So as it is, I will probably end up buying the Xbox to have the Xbox. I'll apply the PS4 and the Wii U, mainly because of Zelda for the Wii U and the PS4, because at this point it's a far superior system. So yeah guys, that's all I have for you today. Let me know in the comments below what you believe in. Are you gonna go for the Xbox? Are you gonna go for the PlayStation? Or even the Wii U? Are you gonna buy all 3? Maybe you're gonna buy all 3. And what game are you most looking forward to? We had a bunch of trailers posted on our site, so let me know what you guys think, alright? Thank you so much, and as always, thank you for stopping by, guys.